What can I say to you? I remember how it felt to take that throne. All that it meant. And all that it did not. A god of war. A god of pain. Of suffering. Of destruction. And the one said I chase redemption that I know I can never deserve. What does that make me? God of fools. A god of...
Hello there, and welcome to episode 79 of the video game podcast, PlayStation Pals. I'm your host, Nick, and I'm joined by the little sister to my big daddy, Jon. Now, Jon, you are the resident Soulsborne fan on the show.
Yeah,
expert.
Somebody's got to be there. You refuse.
Well, we got listener Mark. He could fill in.
That is true, yes. No, I have played every Soulsborne entry since Demon's Souls, yes.
Okay, so I got a question for you about Shadow of the Erdtree.
Okay.
Is there a chance that this is a separate game entirely? We have not covered that, but Jason Schreier of Triple Click and of Bloomberg News made it his prediction this year that Shadow of the Erdtree is no longer DLC to Elden Ring, but an entirely different game.
Yeah, that's kind of the hot topic of conversation within the Soulsborne community right now is, how big is this thing going to be? Is it going to be a true to form DLC, or as you just mentioned, could it potentially be something more? And I kind of want to believe, like, it makes total sense at this point. In February will be 2 years since Elden Ring has been released. That's a ton of time between the release of a game and a DLC in and of itself. So it makes sense that if they have been working on this since then, which I'm sure they have, the amount of content that they're going to have in this thing is going to be huge. Elden Ring already is a much larger project and bigger game than any of the previous From Software games already, and From Software does not have a history of doing DLC lightly. A lot of people consider the Old Hunters to be the best part of the Bloodborne game in and of itself. The DLC that came attached to Dark Souls is famous for having very, very difficult boss fights, and it goes on and on and on. So I kind of expect it at this point, honestly. Like it would just seem a little weird with this much time between release to have it's another DLC, guys. You got to, because in true From Software fashion too, you don't just load into the DLC. You got to go find some weird portal in some weird corner of the map, and all these kind of little extra things. And I think it would make more sense to allow people to maybe jump in with either just a fresh character, because there is going to be a lot of relearning for a lot of players.
Sure.
With the ability to import your character if you want to, but I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling a standalone expansion type deal with it for sure.
Okay, so you're saying like a $50 game, or are we talking we're getting to Elden Ring 2 territory?
No, I don't think they can. I think 50 would. I'm gonna put my flag in 40. I'm gonna say it's a $40 expansion. 40 or 50, but yeah, I don't think we're going Elden Ring 2. That would be pushing it too hard.
Well, what if it becomes like a Tears of the Kingdom situation? The same map, just everything redone.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. 2 years would be such. From Software, in my opinion,
if it comes out this year,
sure. Yeah, I mean that's potential. You push it and say like, hey guys, you got to be a little more patient with us. I know you're respecting it now, but it's going to be Elden Ring 2. I don't think it's going to be that. I think that would be. I would say From Software is the most talented development team in the world, short of maybe a few of Nintendo's guys. But I think that would be asking a little too much. No, I think a nice $40 or $50 standalone expansion, Shadow of the Erdtree, it's its own thing, is where I'd put my money.
Okay. All right.
Which is super exciting. Man, is that exciting if that is the case. Like, I fully expect like some, obviously a new area or two, all that stuff, new enemy variety, new weapons, probably a new couple classes. But yeah, how much of that are we getting?
Yeah.
I don't know. Could be the best thing I play all year.
That's true. Yeah, your expectations will be set quite differently if they, in fact, say it's a standalone expansion. But interesting thought.
Either way.
Especially since we haven't heard a thing about the game in quite a minute, the DLC.
It is weird how quiet they've been.
Yeah.
Like, there was rumors that it's coming out this February. Fetch chance in hell at that. I mean, it's possible, I guess. But, yeah, they haven't said dick since, like, the first trailer, right? That's it. Just one trailer, and I think that's it.
I don't even think you got a trailer. Wasn't it just an announcement with the art? I don't think they've ever.
I feel like
had
I
a
remember
trailer.
some sort of teaser, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they ever showed this game in any capacity. This expansion.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna eat that shit up. It's gonna be so good. so good.
But yeah, it was an interesting thought that I thought we should bring to our resident expert John here. But all right, let's get into the show because we have another exciting episode with both of us playing God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC.
A rare game boondoggle. We
Yeah.
don't get a lot of those here.
We're going to revisit our top 10 PS5 games that we would recommend if you just got a PS5. And more of our 2024 preview with Yay, Nay, or May returning. And then finally, of course, our character Battle Royale is coming as well. So all of that is coming, but this is how the show works. John and I can bring up to 3 things to talk about. It can be a video game we're playing. It can be a news item. It can be an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com. A Twitter DM at PSPalsPod. Go there if you want to vote on our character Battle Royale. And then finally, it can be a comment on our YouTube page at PlayStation Pals. Any of those things, we'll bring it and we'll talk about it. Let's go, John. Kick it off.
All right. So, as you mentioned, Nick, we were delighted and treated and all sorts of other awesome words with the experience of God of War Valhalla, the DLC roguelike that came out shockingly on December 12th of this past year. Free DLC. You didn't have to put a penny towards Sony to play this thing. And it's the follow-up to my 2022 Game of the Year, God of War Ragnarok. So obviously, very, very excited to jump into this. And I am happy to report that it is every bit as good as I was hoping it was going to be. So just to kind of, I guess, Nick, maybe give you some of my overviewing thoughts, and then we can jump into a little bit of it. Obviously, I think we're going to keep this spoiler-free.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
Do you want to set up the initial premise, though?
Premise of Valhalla, sure. So at the end of Ragnarok, we see, I guess, spoilers for Ragnarok if you haven't played this yet. So there will be a little bit of discussion about the end of that game. So if you turn off if you haven't played that, but we see Atreus and Kratos kind of have a father-son moment where Atreus is going to go off on his own thing, right? He's going to become his own man, forge his own path, the things that Kratos did. And I think that kind of obviously left Kratos a little empty nest syndrome, right? He didn't really quite know where to take his life, and he gets an opportunity from Freya, who is kind of taking over the Odin role of being, the person who's kind of keeping the realms afloat and all the things that gods do. Offered a spot next to her to be the God of War, which Kratos has had some issues with that in the past. So obviously it's a very emotional decision that he has to make, and one that he does not want to take lightly. And so what this DLC is doing is kind of exploring his inner turmoil and the things that he has to do, decisions he has to make to decide if this is something he wants to do or not, or if he wants to just recede into the shadows and kind of, just be a forgotten person.
Yeah.
And
he gets a mysterious letter inviting him
Right.
to Valhalla, and then going through Valhalla, there's much more to it than just another realm. It is going to test him both, physically and mentally, and of course, by mentally, he's going to have to face the demons of the original trilogy,
Yep.
God of War 1 through 3.
Yep,
So.
absolutely. And so, right off the bat, I mean, that setup in itself was pretty narrative heavy. So I don't know why I didn't go into this thinking that it was going to be pretty narrative heavy. And, if you followed this game at all, I think you probably have gotten the same type of feedback from different analysts out there. But, dude, it's a narrative masterclass again for me. It puts a closure to a character who I've always really, really, really liked and held them in a very high esteem, but going through this experience, may have solidified him as potentially the greatest video game character ever, just on a character arc standpoint. The writing that is displayed here is if you've played God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, you know how good of a writing team Sony Santa Monica is. But the back and forth dialogue that Kratos and Mimir have through this journey, because Mimir is still attached to your hip, he's just such a good companion to really let Kratos. You have somebody to bounce off his thoughts and ideas instead of just having an internal monologue. Having somebody out there who's kind of challenging how Kratos is feeling and getting him to think about things in a different way is really, really well done. And I couldn't get enough of it. It's a must play experience for me if you are a God of War fan. Do you feel the same way on a narrative standpoint, Nick?
Yeah. The initial trailer at the Game Awards obviously did not touch on how story-heavy this would be, and especially story-heavy in regards, like, again, to that original trilogy, where a lot of the events of that game are brought up, and kind of, in the original God of War, were kind of teased, when you went and got the Blades of Chaos, it was like this big moment, because it was something it's his past. He was never going to bring those weapons back, but felt that he had to I forget, he had to go to what realm it is where the dead are.
Helheim?
Yeah, he had to go there, and he needed them. And
I know of a weapon.
And I wonder if this was originally a trilogy, if they would have explored more of his nasty, ugly past. But since this is just 2 games to cover this arc, that they felt that there was so much more else to cover between Odin and Thor and Atreus that they kind of put Kratos' backstory on the back burner. But man, to have that so much story in just this optional mode it's a must play now. Mm-hmm. It's a must play.
It really is. It really is. And at free, I mean, it's yeah. How could you not? And I think you touched up on a little thing here, Nick. Is the size of this experience is perfect. It's 6 hours, maybe. I don't know if you.
Yeah, if you were to mainline it.
Yeah. 6 hours.
Maybe not play on the hardest difficulty.
No, I bumped it up from there's 5 settings of difficulty. They start you off at 2. I bumped it up to 3 just because I think I got through the final first run, not really getting phased at all. And so I wanted to bump it up a little bit just to I don't know, make it a better experience. And it was. It really showed me. It reminded me again how good the combat is in God of War. For a game that dominates and does such a good job narratively, it's hard to kind of separate that when you go back and you think on your experience. When I think of my experience with God of War 2018 and Ragnarok, my brain immediately goes to, the general speech that Kratos gives at the end of Ragnarok before they all go out and do the thing.
Big story beats.
The big story beat. I don't really think about the moment to moment so much, but playing through this, I'm like, God, this game just excels on that front so well too. The Blades of Chaos, the Leviathan Axe, the Draupnir Spear are all top tier weapons. I was happy to use any one of them, which was fun. But yeah, I mean, I think we got to review this as well. I think as a roguelike, there are probably a good amount of people that will go into this looking for a roguelike experience. And I know you don't play a lot of those as well, Nick, but I do. We both have played Hades and things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of... this is exactly like Hades to me.
Is it?
It feels like a 3D version of that. Yeah, between the, you choose the multiple doors after every run or after every battle. You choosing with different glyphs, so you get you can pick and choose incremental upgrades or move sets, because they kind of reset you in this, so you don't have the light and heavy runic attacks anymore. So you kind of choose which ones you want throughout the game, and then you kind of have an overall currency, so your character is always kind of leveling up even when your run's done and your run stats are reset. You can kind of go to these other tablets and kind of upgrade your overall stats, so the runs will become easier. You'll get resurrection stones, your health bar will get larger and stuff like that.
Your luck, your cooldown, everything that was a stat in the base game, right? You have a stat for.
Yeah, so it felt very Hades-like, though. We can talk about this now. You brought up this point before, is that do AAA games work well as a roguelike? And I think this one doesn't work as well. It's just a lot of walking around, especially in the starter area. You have to go to each little pedestal and go, okay, let me pick my weapon, my My what's the O button? The L1 and O.
The relic.
Yeah, your relic. You have to, and then even in between rooms, you're kind of in this area with multiple doors, and there are like chests you can find. And I found it just doing it over and over in this 3D character. It didn't work as well for me. I was just like, oh, just get me to the door. Like I want to go on to the next part of this mission.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, and I do disagree a little bit. As somebody who does play a lot more of these, I'm playing Astral Ascent right now. That's something that is always built into every single roguelike. You go back, in Astral Ascent, for instance, you go back, you got to go talk to a guy who gives you currency for the different skills that you did. Then you got another guy who gives you currency for the lore you've uncovered, and then you got to go use their things. And so there's always a lot of that. But what I will say, where I think it maybe suffers a little bit on the roguelike sense is there was very, very rarely a run where I felt like I had a tailored build that made me excel in a different way. Right. Part of the reason I love Hades and Astral Ascent and Binding of Isaac and these type of experiences is because every once in a while you'll get a busted run, and those are fucking great. Where you just have a combination of equipment or skills or whatever that breaks the game wide open, and you can just walk through. That's part of the experience to me for roguelikes, and with rare exception, I kind of felt like I was just doing, whatever type of combat I wanted to do that I set out with the plan of. Like, and don't get me wrong, again, the combat is so good. Like throwing your axe and then hitting the L1 and R2 button at the same time, where it comes back to you and you do that overhead charge slam thing into somebody. It feels good every single time, but could have done a little bit more. But again, for being a free DLC,
it feels like you were never like funneled into a weapon either. You were just like. No. What do I feel like? Like I started with the drop near spear, and then I'm like, oh, let's go back to that axe on this run just to mix it up. I never felt like I was getting options that were like, oh shit, I should use the spear this run because this move is so good and these stats are so good. But like you said, there's no. It seems like a very traditional just playthrough of the game.
It is, and again, because the main focus they want you to experience is the narrative. I will say though, I think that very first room where you get the weapon upgrade, that dictates what upgrades you get a weapon for the rest of the run. So like you kind of do get stuck into whatever you pick there, because you're not going to get the bonuses, the runic attacks for that weapon unless if you get one of those random chests, I think, that give you anything. But yeah, it's and this we haven't even touched on. After you kind of go through halfway through it, you start fighting in a Greek-looking area with Greek enemies. I told Nick that I was super excited to fight a Minotaur again. Like when I think of the original trilogy, that enemy for whatever reason is like the one that stands out to me, and I was smiling. Really, I
really
felt
happy
myself smiling
when
I saw one. And while it didn't maybe capture the same type of feeling I had when I fought him with the OG trilogy, it was still really, really fun and cool to see Helios again, the Minotaurs, the Cyclopses, things like that. So in closing, I mean,
and the music.
Oh yeah,
the music, man. Dude, when it played the older music, I was like, oh man.
Yeah, dude. It's I really God of War 1 when it came out in 2005. It's maybe the most memorable trailer I can ever remember watching. Where I was a 16-year-old kid, into the movie 300 and Gladiator and every other badass thing you can imagine. To see Kratos take on the Hydra and to see where we're at now and to play through a thing where, like you mentioned, him battling his past demons, dude. They have this whole arc about the boat captain from that fight. Like if you've played that game, you fight the Hydra and the captain gets swallowed and he's like kind of hanging on the edge of going into the Hydra's belly, and you basically rip the key off of him and let him fall. And like Kratos kind of has a little crisis, like existential crisis about that. He's like, no, I just did that not because it had me gain anything, just because I was like a piece of shit effectively. And to see this character go through all this, it's so good. If you are a fan of God of War Ragnarok, please make sure you find some time to play it. I was honestly even kind of on the fence, like, yeah, I'll play it whenever I get to it. And friend of the show Will was nice enough to let me borrow his copy. Pell of the show Jake was nice enough to let Nick borrow his copy, and I'm so happy that we did them now, especially. And so that leaves my review. I'm going to grade this. I don't know if you're planning on grading this.
Sure.
As a free DLC, it's a 5 out of 5. If it was paid for, it'd be a 4 out of 5. Just because there are some lacking things. But as a epilogue to Kratos and this duology. I don't know, whatever you call it, a one and a part one and a part two, as an epilogue to that. It's perfect. It's really good.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I am gonna go 4 though, because after I completed the story, I was done. I didn't
For sure.
I felt if it was a 5, I would want to keep coming back. But I think there's just something about the loop and the combat that I was just like, I'm good. And I'm glad that I got to see it all. And yeah, it's phenomenal. And what a crazy surprise to be free.
Well,
to be out.
And we will, I think we're going to keep a pretty close eye on this type of thing, right? We obviously have Part 2, Last of Us Part 2 coming out shortly with, what's that mode called?
No Return.
No Return, the No Return roguelike mode. Is this a way that AAA producers and other publishers can squeeze in a little extra content with just the length that it takes to develop games nowadays? Is this a way that they can, kind of just these 1.5, 1.25 type expansion thingy things. I don't know what you call them, but we'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah,
for sure.
The single player games, like their hardest thing is replayability, and when roguelikes can add a lot of that.
Love me some roguelikes.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, I was joking to Nick that if I played this when it came out, I might have had to throw it into my top my game of the year conversation, but that still would have felt bad just based on the bite-sized nature of it. But go play it; it's awesome. Can't recommend enough.
Yeah, highly recommend it. Yeah, just again, it's like 6 hours.
Yep,
it's nothing.
Yep.
So, all right, let's move on to our next topic. We mentioned our top 10 list last week when John was talking about his most predicted game, Hades 2. So I thought, let's bring it back so we can get that fucking Hades game out of this top 10 list.
You're insane. You're insane.
Let's get it out of there. It's been in there too long.
PlayStation Pals game of all time.
So we're bringing it back. It's been about 6 months too, so it's about perfect timing to revisit it, get all the games of the last half of last year, see if any of them can make it in. So here's where our list stands right now, and this is in no particular order. There's just 10 games. If you get a PS5, the PlayStation Pals tell you play these games. We have God of War Ragnarok, which we just talked about, Hades, Dead Space, the 2023 remake, Elden Ring, Persona 5 Royal, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Resident Evil 4, Cyberpunk 2077, Returnal, and Neon White. Now, do you want to go first, John, with any swaps that you will recommend?
All right. Well, what I think, for me, and granted, there are some games on there that are primarily you, and there's some games on there that are primarily me, right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be on each of us to defend ourselves. So for me, the ones that I have my eye on...
Well, give me your first one. We'll go back and forth.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
To be swapped with what?
To be swapped with Spider-Man 2.
I have that too, so that is happening.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now next... I think we're kind of getting to the point where having a Dead Space and a Resident Evil 4 on the list, we might be looking to remove one of those. I think they're both very, very strong. I don't know. I think Resident Evil 4 takes it a little bit, though. And I have 2 other games that are considering. And I honestly don't know myself if I would swap these. So maybe we can have a discussion together.
Okay.
The 2 other games that I think we should consider are Final Fantasy 16 and Sea of Stars.
Okay. I also have those.
Okay. So I am conflicted internally myself if I would swap any. I think if I would remove Dead Space and probably put in Final Fantasy.
Okay. Well, this is what I have for Final Fantasy. I would swap it with Persona 5 Royal.
Okay. Just for the JRPG itch?
Yeah, they fill a similar niche, and again, I love Persona 5 Royal. Game of the year last year. It is still a PS4 game. It's there's nothing in the PS5 version. I mean, it does bring 60 frames per second on it, but
that's fair.
If I was saying you want a PlayStation 5 experience, you're getting Final Fantasy 16. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if this list, the purpose of the list is to, hey, experience these 5 games on this new piece of hardware, even though it's 3.5 years old at this point. That makes sense. Persona 5 Royal, it's not a commentary on its quality, but rather it's what does it do on this platform. That's a good point. And that's a game that you kind of championed onto the list. I think it's great, but I never played it.
So we're good with swapping it for Final Fantasy 16.
Yes. Yeah, and so for me, like, you know, I went through my trophies and everything. I don't think Sea of Stars would be the only one I would consider, and I don't think I would personally bump anything for it.
Okay.
It's a great game, a fantastic game, but you know, it's a much older experience, and you know, I don't know.
Yeah, it was one under consideration, but if it was the one I did not have like a direct swap.
Sure.
Like I would, or 2 indie games I would.
I mean, I imagine you got to have Alan Wake 2 on your
I
considerations.
do. Similar to what you just mentioned, to get rid of Dead Space 2023 and swap it with Alan Wake 2.
I'd be fine with that. I mean, from everything I've heard, and you know, the Weesing area alone, you know, kind of maybe makes it earn a spot. But yeah, I think, you know, Dead Space, no shade to that game, but you know, it's a remake of a previously, you know, PS3 game. Didn't really do much outside of just make it exceptionally pretty and bring it current. But yeah, I don't think we have that on there over Alan Wake 2, which does a lot more. It's arguably the best looking game on PlayStation 5, honestly, you know, as long as there's no bugs and hiccups and things, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, obviously, again, when we kick games off, there's really no shade to them. It's just you know.
You were on the list. You have your place in history.
Yep.
You know, I imagine it's going to be, you know, Ragnarok probably staying there forever. Elden Ring probably staying there forever, but you know, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll keep it going.
Oh yeah, we'll see again.
What do you think has the best chance this year to make its claim in there?
Well, Final Fantasy Rebirth for sure.
Yeah.
I think I don't know.
It's hard. There's so much that's not announced.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Any Sony first party game will always
Concord.
No. But I don't. Oh, I mean, again, this was easy.
Yeah, I wasn't quite expecting these. I mean, I figured Star Wars Jedi Survivor was kind of on like in the 9-10 area for you based on this list, but I wasn't sure.
And I think we said as much because I think it replaced Miles Morales.
Right.
So I knew like its days were coming.
And you know, even if like, you know, Spider-Man isn't one of the 10 best games on PS5, I think it's an essential game that anybody who owns a PS5 plays, right? It's the iconic character of this platform now, and 2 does it the best. So, you know, play that one.
Yeah, and probably the best Sony exclusive of 2023, so I think you gotta throw it on there.
All right, so what's the list in totality now, Nick?
All right, we have God of War Ragnarok, we have Hades, we have Alan Wake 2, we have Elden Ring, we have Final Fantasy 16, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Cyberpunk 2077, Returnal, and Neon White.
Okay, let's get your list of games.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fight like hell to keep Neon White on there. Fight like hell.
Yeah, there are some staples on here that it would take probably a host would have to leave to remove between Hades, Neon White, Cyberpunk. I think those.
I would fight for Hades over Neon White. I will say that. So.
Okay, you know, but again, Hades 2 could swap out Hades. So.
Yeah. No, Hades and Hades 2 are on the list. I don't care.
Yeah. But I'm really happy with the list. Again, I think it covers just a good breadth of different types of games. So, you know, there's something for everybody. And yeah, Returnal. What a great game.
So good.
Just love seeing it on here all the time. All right. So let's move on to our next topic. We're going to continue our 2024 preview by bringing back a segment from last year. And that was the Yay, Nay, or May segment, in which John and I rate a game, whether we think it's going to be good, bad, or middling. And then, of course, we'll have the gimme dat as our top tier, as like you're gonna play it. So if you give it a gimme dat,
it's got to be day one.
I like it and I'm gonna play it. Oh, it's got to be day one, huh?
I don't know. I just feel like if you're gonna use a gimme dat, you know,
okay,
you gotta put your money where your mouth is, you know.
Okay, all right. So we have
Do we get one gimme dat, or like if we're feeling passionate about it?
You can have as many gimme dats as you want.
Okay. All right.
Again, if you think you're gonna back it up,
sure.
So we have about 20 games between January and March. This list was provided by GameSpot, and then I removed all the like weird like PC only or really smaller games off of it. So we have all big heavy hitters here, but let's go through it.
Sure.
All right. First up, we have Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown coming January 18th. This game is getting a demo on January 11th. What do you think, John?
It's a yay for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, this was one that initially released or initially announced was like, great, here's another Metroidvania with just the Prince of Persia franchise. But after seeing it in action more, figuring out who the team behind it is, which is the Rayman Legends Ubisoft Montpellier team, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but that game is fantastic. Their movement that you have in Rayman is fluid, fast, feels good. This game has been confirmed to be 4K 120 frames per second, so it's gonna run beautifully on the PS5. I think that might be a PS5 only thing. Like even on PC, it's not going to run that well. So I think that this one is going to be one of those, maybe not a must-play Metroidvania, not on the Hollow Knight tier, but I think it's going to be very, very good with some really good-feeling movement and combat systems, which is, one of the things I look for most in games.
So how come it's not a gimme dat? Are you waiting to play the demo?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a little high-priced. People made the same argument when Metroid Dread came out, where they're like, this isn't a $60 thing. And it's like, well, it is. It's a really, really gorgeous game with really fun systems and a lot of work that goes into it. So I kind of feel the same about this, though. But, I got to admit, Ubisoft is maybe my least trusted publisher. Like, I just don't want to ever think that, I got to wait and see.
I was trying to think of their other smaller projects, and I was like, I could think of Valiant Hearts. Like, that was the only one I could think of.
Yeah, Valiant Hearts and...
They had other ones, but especially in the 360 era.
UB Art was like and that's what the, I don't know, publishing brand or whatever they had for Rayman Legends as well. Okay. I think shit, was it turn-based or was a
you're probably thinking of the same game I was trying to figure out.
Shit,
I'm
usually so
good
at
and
this.
I think it got 2 games.
Child of Light.
Yes, Child of Light. It got 2 games too.
Yeah, Child of Light.
Yeah, that was the other one. Oh, good.
Thank you.
Good on your memory, because that was the other game I was trying to think of. So they don't have very many of these, so that's why I'm going to put it at a May.
Sure.
I'm not as confident, and it's not a genre I'm particularly attracted to anyway, but I think just if I was to bid on it in our fantasy league, I'd be like, that's a questionable one, but
yeah,
could be good.
Yeah, I'm expecting kind of low to mid 8s.
Okay.
And so with Ubisoft's pricing structure, in 3 weeks it'll be $4. So it's fine.
Yeah. All right. Next up, on January 19th, we got The Last of Us Part 2 remastered.
Gimme Dad.
Yep. Gimme Dad by both of us.
Yeah. Gimme Dad.
Easy. Next up, January 24th, we have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. This is the sequel to the big numbered sequel, basically Yakuza 8. Yeah. Not the man who erased his name, little game that we got 2 months ago, but the full-fledged sequel. Now, John, every time I see this game, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
It looks really good. I think this is going to be a gimme dat for...
Let's give me that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a yay for me, but could easily be a gimme that if I was just a little more into the series. And for you, who played Like a Dragon, it's going right off of that. I'm not familiar with that character at all, but it does look awesome. What, it said place in Hawaii, right?
Yeah. It takes place in Hawaii. It's got this whole Animal Crossing side mode. And just everything else, the weirdness, the side quests. There looks to be so much going on.
Yeah, I think previews are saying it's a high mark for the series, which is saying a lot with the amount of entries this thing has.
Yeah, exactly. And it's finding a nice good little slot. January, there's not a lot coming out, so I think this game's gonna do pretty well and review really well as well.
Yep.
All right, January 26th, we got the return of the fighting game franchise Tekken 8. John, what is it?
So this is evaluating on if we think it'll be good, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll say yay is you think 80 and above.
Yay. It's a yay.
Okay.
I mean,
yay.
They you can tell the quality and just effort they're putting behind this release. The trailers make it look gorgeous. Tekken 7 was very highly received. Tekken is a very, very, very old franchise, like many of the fighting games out there, but that just seems to get better with each release. So I would expect this to follow that.
Yeah, trend. It has a demo out. The demo looks really good too. I played it. 3D fighters are just not my thing anymore.
Same.
But I'd say yay.
Yeah,
as well.
It'll be a well-reviewed game.
All right, we're moving on to February. We have a very busy February. And first up, and this is just for John, On February 1st, we have Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. This has a DLC. This is a fighting game, and it has a DLC character of 2B being added to the game. So,
hold on, Nick. I gotta fact check you here real quick.
Why?
Because there's Relink and Rising.
Maybe I'm wrong.
So I think Rising just came out December 14th.
Oh,
and that's the fighting game.
Oh, wow.
Let me make sure, because I want to make sure
you're probably 100% right.
Yeah, because I think Relink, right? Relink is the one we're talking about.
Yes.
I think that's like a Tales of Arise style JRPG. I could be wrong. I'm trying to find.
I'm sorry, everyone.
It's all very hard to read with all these crazy amounts of art they have. Yeah, I think this is the actual fantasy game. So
okay, so
yeah, no, honestly,
confuse us.
Like I would encourage listeners to go check out the trailers for this one. It's a game. First off, it's a May for me. I think it has high potential. Like it's going to be one of those. When I see it, I kind of almost get weird Nier Automata vibes, where it's just like very fast-paced combat. Like I said, Tales of Arise, but in a very fantastical, bright world setting. So it's going to be one that I think I would obviously wait for reviews on, but I could see it being kind of a sneaky sleeper hit of the year. That's just it's not gonna be for everybody. Very, very anime looking, very, very Japanese. Like if you're not into that aesthetic, it's inherently going to be a little weird for you. Yeah, it's a May for me. I think I'm gonna keep my eye on it, but not looking to move on it unless if it blows everybody out of the water.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is probably a May because I'm not too familiar with the franchise. Obviously, I just made the biggest fuck up because they have to have two games with different bylines.
But if they let me play as 2B in the open world, it's a gimme that.
Yeah.
Put her in this one.
Yeah, this is a May, and yeah, again, as we've talked about on the show, like so many JRPGs.
Yeah.
In this month alone, and then with Like a Dragon, and then the other games coming out in March, as we'll get to. Just
who's the developer on this? So Arc Systems Work did the Rising one, which is interesting. They're the guys who did Guilty Gear. Yeah, I don't know.
Psy Games and Platinum Games.
There it is. See that Nier Automata? I told you. Is it the good Platinum or the shitty Platinum though? You never know with them. You never know.
Is it Babylon's Fall Platinum?
Right. Or Bayonetta 2. Like fuck. Biggest spectrum in the business for a developer's quality of title, but.
This is interesting. This is a game to watch out for.
Dude, I thought about it with the League, like if it could be but and
it is PlayStation console exclusive too. I'm seeing here, so interesting.
Yeah.
All right, yeah,
we're learning together, Nick.
Yeah,
we're learning together.
Yeah. I'm glad I kept it on the list then. All right, next up, February 2nd. There's another trend of this month. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League. Yikes!
Feel bad, but there's our first nay.
It is a nay for me as well, but I'm going to challenge you, John, here.
Yep.
What does it have to do? What can it do to be a slam dunk, get in that yay category, review 80 and above?
Slam dunk? I mean, I don't think there's anything it can do to be a slam dunk, because I have no doubt that the movement and moment-to-moment shooting and stuff, it's probably going to feel good. It's probably going to be
That's
smooth.
number one for me.
Yeah. It's
tight,
probably going to...
The controls have to be super tight.
Yeah, and I can see them doing that, but from everything I've heard, just, part of the reason that I think you fell in love with the Arkham series so much is that it was this amazing gameplay tied to an awesome narrative that, you cared about these characters, and it's going to be tough for them to win me over with the type of dialogue and just how these Suicide Squad characters are. They just have always kind of annoyed me personally.
Right,
it's just like I don't dig the vibe that they put out. So for them to get me to want to pick up this game, it's got to be probably like an 88 or higher. Figure out a way to make each of the characters do more than just shoot guns.
Right, yeah.
I don't
tight
King Shark shouldn't
gameplay,
be shooting a gun.
A really good DC story, and
It's
I think
almost a oxymoron.
Yeah, and then you gotta really stray from the battle pass, but they're not. But when I'm just playing Diablo 4, I was like, well, why can't this game Diablo 4 is in '88.
Yeah.
Why can't this game fill that same niche? And like I think it just it really has to hit hard. It's got to be one of the best feeling games with a lot of depth between loot and enemy variety and enemy types, and just it's got to feel really good.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, does the whole game take place in Metropolis?
Everything they've shown, it looks like Metropolis.
I don't know. And was it Jesse who got to play the beta
the alpha.
or the alpha? Yeah, and I mean, seems like impressions are not high from other people too. So I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't think this has a chance to become a yay, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it reviews better than we all think it does. And also, we can't ever forget that we are hyper into the industry people. There are many people. Like I was, I don't know.
It could easily be Hogwarts Legacy, right?
Yeah, it's going to sell 10 million copies immediately. I mean, I was listening to Ryan talk to his buddy about Skull and Bones, and his buddy was like, "Dude, have you seen the Skull and Bones game? It looks awesome." And he's like, I don't know. The guys at work say it looks stupid. So but like there are just so many people that just don't buy into any of the discussion around it. So I could see this game being a success from a financial point, but I don't know. Chips have been stacked against it ever since.
Yeah, it'll be a game we talk about for sure, even if we're not buying it out of the gate. So
yep. I'm definitely not buying it out of the gate.
So we'll see. It'll be an interesting story nonetheless. All right, moving on. Also coming out on February 2nd, we have Persona 3 Reload.
Yeah, I mean that's a yay for sure. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Is it something I want to get into? Probably not. It's just I still don't know if I like the day-to-day high school thing, but I've heard Persona 3 has arguably the best story out of 3, 4, and 5, which says a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a little bit darker of tone, which also says a lot based on some of the things you do in Persona 5. So, yeah, I expect this to be another, Persona is a series that has catapulted into significance, much like the Yakuza Like a Dragon series in the past 5, 6, 7 years. So I expect it to come out and do, for Persona fans exactly what they want it to do.
Yeah, my only worry is what I brought up when the game was announced is that they're redoing the base Persona 3, not the Persona 3 Fez or Persona 3 Portable, which added up, a bunch of quality life. You can pick the gender of the main character, stuff like that, and with that stuff removed, will this be received as well or not?
I think so. I would be surprised if
just a thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely one of those things where people are like, oh, we're getting it, but why not the best version? But at the same time, is it okay? It's a 91 instead of a 94. I think it'll be one of those.
Right, and again, I didn't play any of the versions, so I don't know how much of a big deal that is, but it is interesting. But yeah, it is probably a yay.
Well, yeah, I mean, three is the one that I think kind of put Persona on the path that it's on currently.
Right.
So I think there's gonna be a lot of people that played Persona 5. Maybe that played Persona 4 Golden, I don't know, but that are going to be like, oh, cool, this is kind of not the start of the series, but almost kind of the start of the series.
Yeah.
So,
and it is a Game Pass day and date game, so there will be a lot of new players checking it out. So,
yep, this would be one I wish I had more time for, but 100 hours, no, sorry.
All right. Will you make time for the game that comes out on February 8th, Helldivers 2, the Sony second-party exclusive?
May. I am pulling for this game. I want this game to do well. I think it looks fun. But is it going to be, to use an industry term, is it going to be sticky enough to want to continue to play it? Or is it just going to be a thing where you load in a couple times, you play with a couple people, and you go, all right, I've killed my fair share of bugs. I don't want to continue on this path and see what else the game has to offer. Right. But they've talked about a lot of cool things, right? Like the angle of your bullets at the enemy, it depends on your angle where they're going to ricochet off or they're actually going to penetrate. And like there's a lot of seeming a lot of different systems at play, but this also is a game that has been in development for a long time. The first Helldivers came out, I want to say, in 2015, and they haven't made a single game since then. So, was it rebooted halfway through, or is this just something that they've kind of been fine tuning and tweaking? And
Yeah, it's probably a smaller team, and
Yeah.
this is definitely more ambitious than the isometric view of the first game. This is a third-person shooter.
Yeah.
So,
But I think this is another Returnal scenario where if this game does well, Sony will potentially look at buying Arrowhead. I can see them doing that. It's a team that they've worked with in the past, and it's a game that has potential. I can also see it coming out and just being like, yeah, it's got a lot going for it, but just doesn't have the legs.
yeah, it's a May for me, and it's just, what does that gameplay loop feel like, and how much is it based on, if I'm playing with my friends or not, can four randos take on some of the harder missions in the game and stuff like that. But
or honestly, like a question I want to know, can I play it by myself? Like,
yeah.
I'm sure it's not designed that way, based on every single thing they've showed us has had 4 players on screen, but like, is it possible?
Yeah. All questions, and again, we'll see. We'll know very shortly.
Have they said the price of that? I'm sure they have, based on pre-orders and stuff.
Yeah, we talked.
$40.
Yeah, we talked about it because I think we tried to predict what the price would be, and we were surprised that it is $40.
So not bad.
So it's probably priced appropriately, and probably set your expectations for a $40 game. So. All right. On February 13th, we have the game from Don't Nod, Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, one of the games that was delayed out of our busy 2023 schedule, and now has planted itself in February. We got a few games that have done that.
Yeah, they call that out of the frying pan into the fire.
Yeah.
So like, oh, we're gonna get out of the way of this. Oh no, February's jammed.
So
Jammed. It's so jammed.
This is a hard game to predict. Don't Nod hasn't had a lot of success with their 3D games outside of the Life is Strange series. Vampire being their last one, and
Remember Me.
Yeah,
Old one.
Yeah, they haven't reviewed very well, but I don't know. I don't know what to think of this one. This is a May for me because I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a good feeling. I'm gonna say nay.
Okay.
Vampire, like you said, is kind of their last example of what they've been able to do, at least with a 3D game. And that game's sitting at a 72 on OpenCritic, so not horrible, but not what you would want from this level of a game. And so I think it's kind of got a cool setting. I think it takes place in like the late 1600s or something like that. It's got the dual character thing going where it looks like one's kind of the spirit realm, the other one's just of the physical nature or whatever you want to say about that. But I don't know. I don't know what to think of it either. All I know is I won't have time for this game, I don't think.
Yeah. And I really don't know what to say because I don't know much about it, and every time it's shown, it's been kind of okay. Nothing is.
I think Don't Nod excels at the. I mean, it could have a really good narrative. I mean, if it can have if it can land that piece, you got something. But other than that, Don't Nod's always been a narrative kind of drama focused team. Mm-hmm. Twin Mirror, Tell Me Why, Captain Spear, Life is Strange, all that stuff.
Right. Okay.
Speaking of, whatever happened to that Harmony game? They also did that. Remember you picked it in the league last year? Harmony, The Fall of Reverie.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder whatever happened to that.
It must have come out.
I doubt it.
Because I ended up dropping it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, let's move on. February 14th, we have the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remaster. Now, these are remasters of the original OG PlayStation games. I put it on this list because I think it's on my radar. Like I remember playing those games, but never completing them. And it's I think you can pre-order for like $26, and I was like, it's not that bad for three games remastered. So this is a May for me. I got my eye on it.
Okay,
it might be a game I might bring one day to the show because I just want to go back.
Interesting. Yeah, for me it's a nay. I don't have any love for that series. I'm a little bit old or younger than you, and so when I got around to playing Tomb Raider, it just already felt horrible.
Yeah.
They could do a lot of quality of life things, tweak up the movement, maybe if you make it feel more like an Uncharted game, that would put it in a much better position. But it's just, I'm kind of surprised from you, Nick, because you usually don't like to go backwards, but I don't know. I am a little concerned. They also haven't shown off like anything of this game. I was actually reading a post about that today where people are like, why haven't they said like it comes out in a month, but we haven't seen more than just like a couple screenshots, which is like, there seems to be a history lately.
How well does it run?
Yeah, or like, with the Metal Gear Solid collection that came out, which wasn't as good as people were hoping. Like
the Grand Theft Auto collection, we have a
yeah. It seems like there's always a weird little bit of ickiness to some of these, but if you're a fan of the series, an old longtime gamer, I think it'd be fun to go back to. It's just
as long as the ports are solid. That's the real question. So
yeah, because isn't the first one tank controls?
Yes, I believe so.
I remember it being really hard. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know if that was me
too.
being like a 9-year-old kid that didn't understand how to.
3D games were difficult back then, especially 3D platformers.
They sure were. So it's a nay for me, but
yeah, we'll see. Keep an eye on it. Sure. All right. Next up, Nintendo enters the Yay, Nay, or May arena with their February 16th release of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I believe this is a remake of old Wii U game.
Oh man, I don't.
we're not the Nintendo.
2004 would have been Wii.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it actually looks like it's a DS game.
Okay. Again, I'm not familiar with this series. I'm not the Nintendo guy.
Oh no, Game Boy Advance.
Oh wow. All right.
So, yeah.
Well, but it is Nintendo, so it always has a chance. Mm-hmm. They do the work. So I'll put this at a May for me. If it was a full new release, yay.
Yeah.
Put it at a May. I think we'll see if it's 80 or above worthy.
Yeah, I mean, never bet against Nintendo. You'd be a fool to do that. But I think Nintendo does have a place for this size game. Like the Captain Toad Treasure Tracker or Yoshi's Crafted World or, even that Kirby game that kind of came out. It's like they have this, this isn't our most important type of releases. These are like ones that we just kind of throw out and attach to my P2. And so I think it's gonna be in that low 80s, high 70s place, but inherently just being a puzzle platformer, right? Mm-hmm. So, you can institute a lot of cool ideas and fun little ways to make that clever, but at the end of the day, are you ever going to have the moments that we even had in something like Valhalla? Of course you're not. It's just, what you're getting. There's not going to be any narrative here. It's just, hey, here's a clever little platform. Figure out how to get through it. And it's going to be that over and over and over again. But, it's a May. It's going to be okay, but I don't think
it was an 81. The original in 2004.
The original. So yeah, it'll be right about the same. I would imagine.
All right. Moving on. February 16th again, we have Skull and Bones finally coming out.
You sure? You sure about that?
Yeah, exactly. Does it have a chance, John? Will it be more than just a nay for you?
It's one of those conflicting games because I was watching a gameplay trailer of it today. It looks okay. It doesn't look horrible, but you hear reports of it's a pirate game and you can't board the other ship. Like, what is that about? And it reeks of, obviously, we don't even need to go into the development hell that this game has had. But it just seems like a game where corners are cut, where they're just probably trying to get it out because we need to get it out. It looks good. It's going to be polished and things like that. But famously, this game took money from the Singapore government. So they've been on the hook. They have to release it. And I can't imagine it's going to be the original vision that the team had. So it's a nay. I don't think,
Yeah, being a spinoff of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Yeah.
How long ago was that game?
Right.
How many Assassin's Creed games have we had in that time?
So many. Unnecessarily many. But no, I'm gonna be very interested though. Like because I have this weird feeling, almost like that Suicide Squad in this game are gonna come out and be like, oh, these are good. Like, hey guys, these are good. Like, don't be shitty about them. But I still wouldn't bet for it. So it's a nay.
Okay, it's a nay for me too.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth coming Leap Day, February 29th. It's a gimme dat.
Gimme dat.
Most anticipated. Of course, it's a gimme dat.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it on some prior podcasts.
Yeah, last week.
Oh yeah, last 7 days ago. But just the idea of taking what Remake was and removing some of the corridors and things that kind of annoyed me and having this full, like, you can climb shit, you can fly, you know, there's a reason that when we see every single marketing gimmick thing for this game, it's the crew of people standing at a cliff looking over the world. That's them telling you that, like, yes, you're going to be able to, it's going to be this one huge area, or at least, you know, much bigger areas than we're used to. And then you combine all the character work and the gorgeousness and the fun combat. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Give me that.
Yep. Easy, give me that. All right, we're moving on to March, our last 5 games. First up, on March 8th, we have Vanillaware's Unicorn Overlord.
It's a May.
Really?
I think it's going to be, well, yeah, you're right. If we're evaluating the quality of it, it's a yay. I don't know. I'm not bought into it, though.
Okay.
Like, I loved 13 Sentinels. I loved Odin's Sphere, Leifrasser, or however you pronounce that. And those are the 2. I haven't played Dragon's Crown.
Grim Grimoire.
I haven't played Grim Grimoire or Muramasa or any of those. But Vanillaware is a very consistent studio. They, you know, really tested and showed their narrative chops with 13 Sentinels, which is this crazy story that I couldn't even begin to explain to you at this. Like, I don't really remember a lot of it, quite honestly. It was,
time travel.
Yeah, time travel craziness. But really, really good job there. They've shown their combat skills are good if it's like, you know, hack and slash like Odin Sphere, or like 13 Sentinels, like with more strategic type things. So I think it's going to be really good. I hate the name. I think it's a weird name, similar to like the Princess Bride. It's like you guys are going to kind of just immediately get some people to not pay attention to you. But I don't know. I say May just because like it is very much a wait for reviews game for me if I want to check it out. But I do think yay from the quality standpoint.
Yeah, it is definitely a yay for me, and it was so close to give me that.
Really?
Yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be really good. The art is impressive. It's an RTS with Fire Emblem elements, which is not something we usually get on PlayStation. So I just think this is going to be secretly kind of a big deal.
Yeah, I mean every developer. Well, not every developer, but developers every once in a while have that game that gets them notoriety. And yeah, maybe this is the one for Vanillaware, because as good of a studio as they are still very, very unknown to a lot of people.
Yeah, very niche.
Yep.
All right. Moving on March 20th, we have Alone in the Dark, another game that got pushed from 2023. It is now coming March 20th. This is from Pisces Interactive and THQ Nordic. It stars David Harbour and Jodie Corner. Nothing? Nothing? Okay.
I don't know. I get bad vibes from this one.
Yeah.
Alone in the Dark is a very legendary series. It almost started the survival horror genre. Like, it's an old game. It's one of the very first games I can ever remember playing. But it has not been relevant in 25, 30 years. It made one of the worst movies of all time. It just seems like anytime something is attached to this IP, it's trash. You know, and I can see them knowing that and going, cool, who can we get to star in it that would just like be a way to market and try and get some sales? And David Harbour seems perfect to me. Like, you know, he's not top tier, he's not bottom tier. He's famous because so many people have seen Stranger Things, but also he's kind of probably relatively cheap. I just don't. It's a nay. I don't see this one coming out, especially after the year we just had with survival horror games. You know, it's going to stick out after people have played Resident Evil 4, Alan Wake, and Dead Space.
Yeah, that is very true. We'll all very recent examples of killer games. So, I'm also in the nay. Unproven developer, unproven publisher. Not happening.
Also, I would like to correct myself live. Harmony did come out in June. It just got a 79. Just got to defend myself.
All right. We're moving on to March 22nd, which is seeing 3 games release on that date. First up, we have Dragon's Dogma 2 coming from Capcom. This game repeatedly gets shown, John, and I'm going to have a controversial opinion on this one. It's a May.
Yeah.
They released a 18-minute video, and this is the IGN first, so they're getting a bunch of exclusive coverage. So they did an 18-minute video showing off the fighter, the thief, and the sorcerer.
Yep.
And that game continues to not wow me at all.
Sure.
Yeah, it just looks so generic.
I am
worried on it.
I'm weirdly with you, honestly. You know, I thought the number 2 pick in our league, that was kind of crazy high for it.
Yep.
But no, it gives me, you know, obviously so. I think it's intentional. Monster Hunter vibes all over the place, which is a game that is, you know, immensely popular, very well received, but I just personally don't like the way it feels. And I get a lot of similarities there where it's like big, sweeping, swinging motions that don't seem to have a lot of impact. You're fighting gigantic monsters and you're climbing all over them and doing all these crazy things. But I think it's just not going to land for me personally at all. And I don't know, though, because, like, can you really bet against Capcom right now?
That's true. This will be very polished, if anything. You know, as much as we hate on Exo Primal, that is a very good feeling, very polished game. Like that's the exact example that Suicide Squad needs to reach is, you know, at least what Exo Primal's doing, and like I said, tight controls and all that. So you know that's going to be in this too. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, will the gameplay itself be good enough in 2023? You know, Dragon's Dogma is very old at this point. I believe it was 2010.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a 360 PS3 era game, so it's been a minute.
I'm sure 2012. Okay. I'm sure they'll iterate on it, and you know, there's going to be enough in there. I trust Capcom. I don't know. There does seem something a little off about it, but I'm having a tough time deciding if that is my evaluating it or my not liking these kind of games, really. So I don't know, but I'm going to give it a yay. I think it'll be good, but I am bordering on that May territory. You know, it's close.
All right. Let's move on, and we're going on to Nintendo, their big first-party release for the first 3 months, and that's Princess Peach Showtime, coming, again, March 22nd. What do we got, John? You're going to bet against a Nintendo first-party game, but This is not an established franchise either.
Sure. No, this. I mean, you got to give it a yay. I mean, just based on it looks so cute and so gorgeous. Exactly what you expect from Nintendo. You know, there's a lot of creativity at hand here. You know, they show this shot of Peach as a baker, Peach as a swordsman, Zorro type character. You know, there's gonna be a lot of those type of things in it, which just inherently bring smiles to people's faces. I don't think it's going to light the world on fire. I'm not even sure if it'll, be the start of a franchise going forward. I think this is Nintendo kind of figuring out a way to get a game out before the Switch 2 comes and we have those big heavy hitters, and it's just a good time to show it because it actually can shine. But I don't think it'll be anywhere in that 90 Super Mario Wonderland. No. But it's a yay for sure. Don't bet against Nintendo.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, our final game on the list is the PS5 exclusive Rise of Ronin, coming from Koei Tecmo, that we keep seeing. We saw it at the Game Awards again.
That's a May.
Yeah,
that's a May. It's as it's gone on, as we've seen more of it, it seems to lose a little bit of steam every time we see it. Where they first showed it off, and you saw, oh, cool, I can fucking stab a guy and then shoot him with a gun and then fly around the crazy Japan-looking world. But I don't know. I don't know if that first trailer was kind of not disingenuous. I'm sure it wasn't disingenuous, but it seemed a little bit more polished and sharper than the subsequent things we've gotten. And I don't know. Like at one point, I would have said like, "Fuck yeah, I want a game." Open world kind of hardcore combat game set in feudal Japan, but we've just been spending so much time in feudal Japan lately that it's like, what are you going to do to really differentiate yourself? Is it just going to feel like Assassin's Creed? Is it going to feel more like Devil May Cry, more like a FromSoft game? I don't really know, but I don't think just flying around with a little like paraglider and is enough to really make it stand out. And who's developing this one? It's Team Ninja, isn't it?
Could be. I mean,
I think it's
hard to say because we just got Wolong.
Yeah, it's Team Ninja
last year from Team Ninja, so it is interesting that they have another game a year, 13 months later. But yeah, Team Ninja is kind of like Platinum games. You don't know what you're getting. Are you getting Neo levels? And even Wolong reviewed well.
Yeah,
that was an 81. So. But it obviously forgotten in all of the craziness of last year.
I could honestly see it just being a kind of another Wolong scenario where it comes out, people are like, yeah, it's good. But they play it, they like it, and then nobody talks about it towards the end of the year.
Right. So yeah, that's a hard one. That is a May for me as well. Again, Forspoken also came out last year, and that was not good. So not every Sony backed third party exclusive is a hit. So
yeah,
we'll see. But that's all I got. That's the big heavy hitters for the first 3 months. A lot.
Sure.
So many games.
Yeah.
I think you did what? 1 Gimme Dat? 2 Gimme Dats?
2 Gimme Dats, I think. Final Fantasy and Last of Us.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's good because I'm really trying to focus on my backlog right now. Tears of the Kingdom going on strong. We're good.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I want to hear some more completed games out of the John camp.
I'm trying, Nick. I'm trying.
All right. So let's move on to our final topic. Of course, it is the video game character battle royale. Now, we cannot announce any winners from last week. I was a little late getting the polls out, so I'm just going to let the polls run. But please.
I'm not ahead, am I? And you're trying to sabotage me, am I? Are you?
I can say who's in the lead right now, but there's still time. So if you want to vote on the 3 battles we currently have up and running, please go to Twitter at PSPalsPod or email in that'll count as well. PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com. Currently, Sora is beating Samus Aran. Sweet Tooth is beating Sonic the Hedgehog.
All right. Well, you're giving me some.
And Rayman is narrowly edging out Jack. So that is where we stand, but those polls will run for a couple more days. So so we can get make sure we get no ties this time. So.
All right. And so for this week, we have, of course, our beloved Astrobot versus Sub-Zero of Mortal Kombat fame. Hopefully Astrobot doesn't get fatality'd. Versus Big Daddy and Little Sister versus Kazuma Kiryu of the Yakuza series. I do believe I am first this week.
I think so, yes.
I want to say. So we're going to do Big Daddy and Little Sister versus Kazuma Kiryu. These were a little tougher for me this week, I got to admit.
Yeah.
They were a little hard, but it's okay. It's not going to stop me. All right, an agent of the Daidoji faction, former 4th chairman of the Tojo clan, former manager of the Morning Glory Orphanage, and a former taxi driver of the Nagusa Taxi. Kiryu's legendary accomplishments and ascent through the ranks of the Tojo clan's Dojima family has earned him the nickname the Dragon of Dojima. And while you might be thinking this is a shut case where you got a big metal hulking Big Daddy taking on a former or just like an old man kung fu master, I don't think so, Nick. While the Big Daddy is large and imposing, he provides actually very little challenge to the dragon as he is well informed about all of his enemies. He can use electricity to dispatch of the metal beast using his where is it? I wrote it somewhere. He can use electricity manipulation. Shuts the Big Daddy down immediately. He can use explosives, which is how you take down a Big Daddy in its own environment. He will be stunned, allowing Kiryu to pick apart his metal ass very much like E Honda taking apart of a car on the Street Fighter series. Dragon, Dojima.
Yeah, he has a lot of titles, doesn't he?
Yeah,
Slot car champion.
Yeah, I just found it funny. I was like looking through. I was like, oh, yeah, you're going to throw in he was a taxi driver for a taxi. Okay. It's part of his charm. He's a man.
He's had every job in that series,
He's a Renaissance man.
Yeah. It's interesting because he was not in Like a Dragon at all, so I'm not really familiar with the character, but he is a party member in Infinite Wealth.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see him. All right. For this battle, we are going deep down in the ocean to Rapture to bring one of the most iconic enemies in video games, the Big Daddy. Not many video game encounters are as frightening as being in the room with one of these with their face glowing red. And by big, we are talking a human being grafted to the armor of a giant diving suit. Good luck, Kazuma, for fist fighting your way through this threat. This hulking monstrosity may look slow, but it can move in quick bursts to close the distance and drill you with its massive drill in its right hand. And with a big sister around, because again, it's Big Daddy and Little Sister, Mr. Bubbles, as he's affectionately referred to by the little sister, will be extra protective and do anything to win this fight.
Very nice. I had an extra page of notes and I didn't read it. That's okay. All right. All right, you ready for the upset of the century, Nick? You ready?
Astrobot's loved, and it's not always just what the character that should win. It's usually, you got a fan favorite.
All right. So the official size of Astrobot, according to his wiki page, is 100.1 inches, feet, we don't know, and he weighs 123,433. So we're going to assume he's 100 inches and 123,000 pounds, all right? So we don't know what Astrobot actually is. You know, he lives in a video game world, but if that's inches, Nick, he's 8'3" and weighs 123,000 pounds. So we might have a drastic misunderstanding of how big Astrobot truly is. He's going to just immediately, if he is that size, Sub-Zero doesn't have a chance. And he also never acts alone. Astrobots are a collective group of people. They're kind of like a hive mind type creature. So if you see one Astrobot going against it, they're all going to jump in. And as you mentioned, Nick, Astrobot is very, very loved. He is only maybe the face of the PlayStation franchise now. So people are going to see him fighting. They're going to come to his aid. Nathan Drake's jumping in. Everybody's going to jump in and lend a hand because you can't see Astrobot get fatalitied by Sub-Zero. It just would not be right. Sub-Zero loses to Astrobot. Jesus. All right.
All righty.
I just loved it. It said, wait, 123,433. What? What does that mean?
All right, I want to fact check those stats because poor Astrobot. You are so cute and fun and silly, dressing up as various PlayStation characters and laying down some of the best music. But unfortunately, you walked into the wrong battle royale and drew one of the worst opponents, one known for ripping the spine out of his opponents. Sub-Zero is the Grand Master of the Lin Kuei class, a ninja with the power of ice. Using ice, he can make himself more mobile, like sliding, freezing his opponent, or making an ice doppelganger of himself. Sub-Zero is ultra proficient in hand-to-hand combat. Now, Sub-Zero has battled all of the many opponents in the large roster of characters in the Mortal Kombat franchise, but also has faced Omni-Man, Kratos, John Rambo, Jason Voorhees, and more with his time in this franchise. And he is on his 12th mainline entry. He is prepped for combat.
Yeah, he is. But he doesn't weigh 123,000 pounds.
Strike that from the record.
Hey,
we don't know.
Hey, it's official. It's written down in his Wikipedia. It's like,
All
what
right.
angle do I go here?
So, again, please vote for those polls on our Twitter, at PSPalsPod, and then these new battles will be posted right after the show is posted. So,
all right, Nick. We have our final 4 matchups.
Okay.
Final 4. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Go ahead.
Your first contestant for next week, the last one, Zale from Sea of Stars.
Oh, okay.
All right. Versus Aloy, Horizon Forbidden West, and Zero Dawn. Which leaves, there's only 2 left. You got Cole McGrath from the Infamous series.
All right.
And I have Isaac Clarke from Dead Space.
Ah, okay. Okay. Some interesting ones.
All right. And that will be so next week is the end of round 1.
Okay, yeah.
It's a long road to get here, Nick. I don't know when we started this. I think it had to have been a good 30 weeks ago.
September 26th.
Doesn't seem that long ago then. All right. Either way. Good. We got through that quicker than I thought, though. I think when I was like formulating this, I was like, this is going to take like a fucking year, dude. And it still might because we got rounds 2 and 3 and whatever. But feels good.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it. That is the 4 things we brought for you today. John, do you have anything to tease for next week?
Yeah, I think I'll finally be ready to talk about more in depth about Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know, depending on how much I can get through, if like I'm gonna want to do the full on review or maybe just have impressions and stuff, and then I can just give it a score later in a later week. But I've kind of gotten, I think, past the halfway point. There's some bigger dungeons that you kind of have to do, and I've done just did my second one of those a couple nights ago. So hopefully I can dive back into that. I've got some impressions on Sifu, which again, pal of the show, Will, kind enough to let me borrow that. So I have some thoughts on there. No, I think it's gonna be those, and then I have Remnant 2 and Hogwarts and all other stuff.
We just have to have the new
trying to get through the ones that I have.
John's gaming minute.
Yeah, we'll have.
He spends a minute on each game, just like the character battle royale. I time him on each one.
Next.
He's getting his thoughts out.
It's hard.
Good. Bring the games because I'm taking a break. we'll spend the next 2 weeks just waiting for Last of Us Part 2 remastered. There's just nothing interesting me. Maybe if PlayStation Plus Extra has a good game that I'm interested in. But I think it's time to
give Nobody Saves the World a chance. The game's fun. It's cute. It's fun.
Yeah, that's true.
You can just get
Evil West or whatever.
Well, you'll know within 15 minutes if you want to play Nobody Saves the World or not.
Right.
It's a pretty easy to tell kind of game.
Okay.
But
yeah.
So
I'll try to find some more topics to bring. There seems to be some interesting rumors going around, so maybe I'll bring one of those to talk about. That there's some interesting precedents being rumored about on the webs today. So maybe I'll bring that next week.
And honestly, by the time of next week's podcast, we'll probably have more information on.
It's possible.
We're talking. There's some rumors that Microsoft might be adding some games elsewhere.
Yeah, that they might not be exclusive to their consoles anymore.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Yeah. So that's kind of all I got to tease, but yeah, we'll bring some more topics. So
been wanting to watch a lot of movies lately too. Like there's a lot of movies I got to get caught up on. Still haven't seen Barbie. Still haven't seen that. Still haven't seen Talk to Me. Lots of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that time of year, right? All the best pictures will start getting announced, and you'll be like, "Oh God, I got to see all these movies and all these foreign films."
Foreign films are great. All right, well that is it for us for this week. For the song, we got from Astral Ascent, the roguelike game that I've been playing. Probably my most pleasant surprise game of last year. Soundtrack is done by Dale North. We have the Master Phase 2, which is the final boss. It's overall, there's a lot of good music in it, but this one's just kind of, it's a final boss fight. I mean, you know what kind of music you're gonna get with one of those. So enjoy.
Yeah, good choice. I have not heard it, so I'm excited to hear it too. All right, so that's it. Thank you again for listening, everyone, and then again we will be back next week with Up to 6 Things. Bye.
See you guys.